All right, hello there, everyone. Today we are going to go over how to set up Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 and Mysteries of the Sith to work with online play. So, in order to do this, the biggest thing you need to do is port forward. Now, I don't expect everyone to know what port forwarding is, but I'm going to walk you through this step by step so that way you can get an idea of how to do it, follow along if you can, and take notes if you can't follow along. But either way, just try to keep up and good luck. So first things first, you're going to need to go to your home router, and on the router there should be a sticker, typically on the bottom or on the back, that's going to have your username and password, the admin username and password. This is separate from your Wi-Fi username and password. You want to write that down. Next, you're going to go to your computer and you're going to open up a command prompt. To do that, hit start, type CMD, and hit enter. Now here you're going to type in the command ipconfig. That's ipconfig. Hit enter, and you're going to see some information spit out at you. The biggest things that you're going to want to look for are your IPv4 address and your default gateway. You want to make note of both of those. So in this instance, and in most cases, home networks typically start with 192.168.1.x, x being whatever IP address your machine is or device. In this case, this computer is .27. And the gateway is .1. In most cases, the gateway will be .1, whatever your home network is. So make note of those two numbers. Next, what we want to do is open up a browser of your choice, Firefox, Chrome, Edge if you want, and then type in that default gateway address, 192.168.1.1. You will be prompted for a username and password. Now, I've noticed that some providers, like Verizon's routers, will give you a nice landing page with a username and password. In this case, I have a Netgear Nighthawk, and it comes up with a box. Go ahead and just put that information in. Now that you're in, you're going to see a bunch of menu options and such. You're going to want to go look for the port forwarding part of this. Every router is different. It's not the same across the board or universal. So in this case, this is a Netgear Nighthawk, and I'll show you where it is on here. If you have a different router, which in most cases, most of you probably will, just try to follow along or look around and see if you can find this. So for here, it's under Advanced, and then Advanced Setup, and then right here, Port Forwarding / Port Triggering. Now, I already have my desktop set up to port forward to the ports here listed 47624 and 2300 to 2400. Those are the numbers that you need to write down and keep track of. So you'll notice under internal address, it's going to .200. .200 on my home network is my desktop. Now, you're probably not going to have anything in here already. So you're going to want to add a service. In this case, it's add custom service. Service name, you can put whatever you want. This is just a name. And as you saw in mine, I put JK.exe just so I know that these ports are for Jedi Knight and Mysteries of the Sith. Under protocol, you want to do both TCP and UDP. You don't want to do just one or the other. You need to do both. Some will list it like this. Some will list the word both. And then here, under external port range, what you want to do is put the ports in that I had listed before. If it's a range like the 2300 to 2400, they will have it. They'll have it specified here, as you can see, where you can just put a dash. Some routers may have two boxes for a range, so you would put the 2300 in one box and the 2400 in the other box. Under internal IP address, this is where you would put your computer's IP address. Now, you may notice some devices like this one will have a list of current connected machines to your network. I do not recommend using this I noticed on a Verizon router for a friend of mine that even though he had the list and the devices next to the IP address, it was not correct. So I really stress manually entering in this number instead of going off of a list. But this begs a question. What if you have a lot of devices? Like if you see here on my home network, I have a lot of devices. What if you have a lot of devices and computers are restarting all the time and they're grabbing different IP addresses? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to set up a static IP address. Meaning that the number won't change. Every time you boot your computer up, you're going to get the same number every time. So go ahead and hit Control Panel. Go into Network and Internet. Network and Sharing Center. Change adapter settings. Now, either it's going to be under Ethernet or Wi-Fi, depending on how your machine is connected. This machine is connected through Wi-Fi. So we're going to go here. Properties. Now, I recommend disabling IPv6. I have run into issues before where Jedi Knight did not work because IPv6 was enabled. Then go to your IPv4, go to Properties, and you're going to do Manual for both. So, home network, like I said, 192.168.1. Now, if your home network doesn't start with these numbers, you want to put those first three sets in that your home network starts with. Then you want to put a number, a high number, one that's not low. So you have a choice between 2 and 255 typically. I did 200 for my desktop because that's high enough above the range where it's not going to be interfering with any low numbers for devices that may be rebooting. So in this case, let's do 210. Subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. This will auto-populate. You shouldn't have to worry about that. Default gateway. We know that from before because we wrote it down. And then preferred DNS server. Now, when you do an IP config, it will give you that information. And I'll show it here for you. Where you can do an IP config /all. And in this case, the DNS server is my router. So what we can do here is we can use the Google DNS server, which would be 8.8.8.8, 8.8.4.4. We're going to go ahead and hit OK and close. And now, when we open and do an IP config, we will see those new addresses. Now, when we go in here, we know that this device will always be 210, and we can add 210 at the end. You don't necessarily have to use that number. It's just using it as an example. And then once that's done, you can go ahead and hit apply, and that will save it. That is how you port forward for Jedi Knight. You want to do it for both of those, the 40,000 number and the 2300 to 2400 number range. The only other thing that you would have to check is the Windows Firewall or your third-party antivirus firewall, and make sure that JK.exe and JKM.exe for Mysteries of the Sith are whitelisted and are not going to get blocked when you go online. And then you should be able to connect to games no problem and be able to join games and even host games. If you want to host a game, all you have to do is get your external IP address, and you can do that by going to a website like whatismyip.org, and or you can even go to Google and ask Google what is my IP, and it will tell you what your IP address is, and you can throw it in the chat, and then people will be able to join your game as well. So go ahead, follow these steps, make sure that you follow them to a T, and then also make sure that your firewall and if you have a third-party firewall, such as Malwarebytes or McAfee or whatever, make sure that is not blocking JK.exe or JKM.exe, and you should be able to host games no problem. If you are still running into issues, feel free to drop by the Jedi Knight chat room, and we will be more than happy to help you out. Thank you, and happy gaming.